Now we are going to discuss Long's interaction hypothesis. Long proposed interaction hypothesis, and as you can figure out, interaction hypothesis deals with the acquiring or learning of a language through interaction. So he claimed that participation in conversation with native speakers, which is made possible through modification of interaction, is the necessary and sufficient condition for second language acquisition. So interaction with the native speakers, having conversation and then bringing about modification, that modification is done through interaction, and this interaction can play a vital role in the second language acquisition. He defines input as something which refers to the linguistic forms used by interaction is meant the way functions served by those forms such as expansion, repetition, and clarification. So input is the linguistic forms that are used, and the interaction is a way or means through which those forms can convey their meaning, and these forms can be expanded, these forms can be repeated, they can be clarified. So these forms can get into a process of interaction. So linguistic input and then becoming the content of interaction. Rod Ellis states that interaction hypothesis propagates the two main claims about the role of interaction in second language. One is comprehensible input. It is important that the input which is given must be easy to understand. It must be something which can be comprehended. And that is important for second language acquisition. And second claim is the modification to the interactional structure of conversation taking place in the process of negotiating a communication problem help to make input comprehensible to a second language learner. So modification in the interactional structure, and yes, it also leads to the solving of problems that take place in any communication. So first is the comprehensible input, and second is the modification in the interactional structure. Long proposed the hypothesis, the interaction hypothesis. He proposed it, whereas Pica tested it empirically. Rod Ellis noted that by carefully testing the claims of hypothesis, Pica has extended the interaction hypothesis in a main way by emphasizing the importance of social relationship between participants. So Pica, through the study of the Pica, we have come to know that when we are talking about interaction hypothesis, it is not just the hypothesis, it has a role to play in developing the conversational skills, but then the conversation skills in terms of the relationship the participants have, and also that leads to the social environment and social relationship. Now they become the social relationship between the participants are the determinant of interactional modification. So therefore, social relationship between participants as a determinant of interactional modification. They play a very important role in determining the interactional modification that takes place. Interaction hypothesis then, based on that, can be summarized as comprehensible input is necessary for SLA, modification to the interactional structure of conversation taking place in the process of negotiating a communication problem, and the third has been added based on Pica's study, that is tasks where there is a need for participants to exchange information. So the importance of those tasks which can generate the importance or provide the participants with the opportunity to exchange information with each other, promote interactional structuring. Also a situation where the conversational patterns share a symmetrical role relationship, where there is a symmetry of relationship, where there is equal status of relationship, that basically provides more opportunities for interactional restructuring. In his updated version of interaction hypothesis, Long emphasizes on the learner internal mechanism when he or she is interactionally involved in modified output. So first of all, it was simply the hypothesis, and later on he updated the version where he was looking at the internal mechanism, especially when the participants are involved in a process of an interaction. Interaction is approached both interpersonally and intrapersonally. In the former interaction hypothesis, the learners notice input, while in the later, they process information they got through input. So interpersonally, they simply notice the input while they are getting engaged in a process of interaction. But when they are involved in interpersonally, there is where they are involved in the cognitive processing to process that intake, and how that intake is being internalized, and how that intake is being processed to facilitate the interaction among the participants. So first the interpersonal and then the intrapersonal processes. The interaction hypothesis has been challenged by many researchers and theorists, for example Ellis, and Ziglari summarizes Ellis' findings about the limitation of interaction hypothesis in the following manner. It says that interaction only facilitates comprehension and not causes it. So when person is in a process of comprehending the information, interaction facilitates by providing cues or clarification, but it does not cause the comprehension itself. Then we see that there are individual differences with regard to the amount of their participation. So individual differences are bound to be there, and how they facilitate the interaction that takes place is again a question yet to be answered. Comprehension does not depend on negotiation. Learners may benefit from the dialogue interaction by other learners. So basically, negotiation is not something that facilitates comprehension. Sometimes learners get benefit from the dialogues that they have in the interaction by other learners. Modified input facilitates acquisition of word meaning. The most important factor to acquisition of word meaning is the range, that is the different context in which those words are used and how effectively they communicate or convey the intended meaning. These are some of the limitations that have been identified from the work of Ellis conducted on the interaction hypothesis. To conclude, the interaction hypothesis is a theory of second language acquisition which refers to the development of language proficiency through face-to-face interaction and communication. Comprehensible input has a crucial role for the effective interaction.